Do you ever feel bombarded and overstimulated by information? In this modern day and age, every one of us has a device in our pocket, a phone that we pull up and we use it whenever we're doing everything. So when you're eating, when you're taking the bus, when we're walking, when we are with friends even, when we're watching TV, we're always watching this device in our pocket. And it's so easy to just pull it up and scroll and do that when you feel tired, when you had a long day of work, you can just pull it up, you can be entertained, and you can keep scrolling. But this actually has a lot more devastating effects than you may think. And it's also hindering you from one of the most crucial aspects of high performance and of enjoying life in general, and that is rest. So in this video, I'm going to convince you about how important rest is. Even though it doesn't sound that cool, resting is actually very important, and I'm also going to give you 3 solutions on how you can claim back your rest in this modern day and age. Rest is a forgotten art that is so important for achieving anything in life. You wouldn't just wake up and go to the gym, lift weights and do that all day, and then you just wake up the next day and do the same thing over and over and over again, and not giving your muscles a time to rest and recover. When I started my first online business, it was at the height of the hustle culture. It was like you're just gonna wake up every day, just work, 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 and you can sleep when you die. That was even the motto then. It still is, of course, in some circles, but I was still getting really tired. I felt my performance at work like going like this, and I didn't know in the evening to rest in other ways than just pulling up Netflix, watching YouTube videos, but I could feel slowly that it actually wasn't recovering my mind and my ability to think clearly. I got really curious about this, like how do I actually rest? How do I recover for the next day? Do I just sit there and just look straight into a wall or something like that? And then I was thinking about how we humans evolved. We evolved in nature between trees and birds and other animals and rivers, and everything in nature is really slow. We spend a lot of time in nature just doing nothing, or at least doing the things in tune with our surroundings that is like trees waving in the wind. It's very slow. And then I'm thinking into the present future where we are stuffing our face every day with just new information, and you can kind of understand the correlation why we're more tired than ever. If this is where we came from, with everything is slow, and this is where we're at right now, where everything is fast. So why is that? And why does it feel effortless to scroll? It is because scrolling and being on technology devices, it activates flow. And flow is the state where you feel like time dilutes and you're at your brain's optimal performance. It is the big social media companies and everyone making these devices that has engineered them to activate flow for us. There are different flow triggers like clear goals, immediate gratification, rewards from doing and getting new information, curiosity. These are activated through our phones and we get sucked into them. But even though it feels effortless, flow actually has a recovery period that is very important for us to recover our minds. And put on upon that all of the different rapid information we get that is dispersed. So that means that when you are scrolling YouTube, for example, you're watching one video on how they were building boats in the 1800s, and then one video about some political stunt that's happening in the present. And it's very hard for our brain to like puzzle these things together. And if you then don't give it any time through rest to kind of filter and organize every and all of that information, it just kind of clutters together and you feel more full than you ever have, because there is no more room and space, and your brain has not gotten the rest, the time to organize that information into a coherent, organized system within your mind. Of course, you will feel like your mind is cluttered and you have no clarity. I didn't know this when I started, so I went down on the road of trying to figure out how I'm able to rest. So what is even resting then? Resting, for me, I've figured out, is when I'm doing activities or something that has low stimuli. That means that it's not too much information coming in at once and it has no pressure behind it. So let's say I'm, for example, a music manager. I go around and we play concerts and we have to deliver on those concerts. That's a very stressful situation for me. I get a lot of information in that is not rest. That is being active and being very focused then and there. So when I'm finished with these concerts, for me to pull up my phone and start to scroll on TikTok or YouTube or whatever will not recover me. Then I have to do some other activity that has low inputs and low stimulation, and that also gives my mind time to wander. So for example, going on a walk is resting. Exercising, because you're just focusing on one thing at a time when you're lifting the weights, that's resting. Making food is actually resting for some. Of course, this is individual. So I'm going to give you 3 solutions on how you can start to rest in our daily modern life, so you can achieve more and be more focused and have more clarity in your life. The first thing is that when you're actually on your phone or you're on the technology devices around you that can really help you to propel you forward in life, you take in information that's relevant to your life and the goals that you have in your life. So for example, I'm starting a YouTube channel. I have a business on how to get more focused. So for me to take in information around business, around focus, and around how I can rest and recover is very good. I also try to, when I'm taking in I want to be mindless, I want to just watch a movie or something, I try to take in and watch things that don't trigger me too much or make my head think too much about it, because then I take up the space that I could use for starting my business. The second thing you can do is to schedule when you're scrolling, so time for being mindless, watching movies, watching TV series, being on YouTube, etc. Scheduling that and knowing when you're going to do it and for how long you're going to do it. And then you can schedule in rest. So for me, for example, I'm an entrepreneur, so I don't have a day job. I schedule in that I walk an hour every day in the middle of work, where I just don't do anything other than walking. And that walking gives my mind time to wander, time to store the information I have in my head, and it gives me freedom and space to take in new information later in the day. If you're not able to schedule time for when you're scrolling, I actually have a doom scrolling emergency sheet. It is a sheet where it's 3 easy steps you can take to pull you out when you're in that doom scrolling state where you just scroll and not able to pull you out. Then you can download that and you can start to take control over your scrolling or your addiction to technology. And the third and the last thing that you can do to start to rest is to find a hobby. And yes, before everybody, or at least a lot of people, had hobbies, I think for us in the modern day and age, for many of us, our devices has become our hobby. We just, in our free time, we spend in cyberspace. We spend on our phone or we spend on our computer. And, it's not optimal for rest because, as we talked about, it's such a high stimulation. So you can start a hobby that's low pressure and low stimulation. And I know it's hard. Like, how do I start a hobby? Like, what do I do? And I figured out that you can actually go on ChatGPT, just write in 40 hobbies I can start. And then you go down that list and you see something that excites you and you just try to start. At least if you don't even start it, just start in your mind, like picturing yourself doing something else. And could you be starting to do this thing? So for example, I really want to start drawing. I want to have that as a hobby. I also do scuba diving, and that's a little bit like a higher effort to start that, but that's what I want to start. I want to do things that's interesting, low stimulation, and that doesn't take up my focus and flow state too much. The last thing I want to add here is that whenever you're in a situation where you are alone, you're going on a bus to somewhere, you're in the store, you're going for a walk, just try to not take in any information, not through podcasts, not through audiobooks, not through watching your phone. Just be in that moment and just let your mind wander, and it will come up with anything to entertain you, and that's actually your mind storing the information in your head. I hope this was helpful. If you liked the video, then subscribe to my channel if you want to see me again, because or else I'm going to disappear into the algorithm and you will never see me again. I'm Francis Drake. Goodbye.